Same old shit, dog. Just a different day. Here we go again. Yeah, there we go. Here we go again. Same old shit. Just a different day. Oh, that was a great State of the Union. I would ask everybody what they think about it, but we ain't got nobody in the live yet. I'll just give my thoughts about it like this. I'd say it's the most relaxed I've ever seen Donald Trump giving a State of the Union, giving a SO2. He seemed relaxed because the mission is being accomplished. Dude, what in the heck? It's like the most difficult thing I've ever tried to open in my life, dude. I can't open this container. Anyway, yeah, State of the Union, really crazy. Yeah, Trump really gave it to him, man. Like I said, it's the most relaxed I've ever seen the man. The most relaxed I've ever seen him giving a State of the Union address. And that was good. That's a good thing. Yes. I've got it open. Awesome. Finally. Okay, good. I was occupying myself with that. But that was the most relaxed I've ever seen Trump giving a State of the Union address, which is good. A lot of good stuff. There was definitely some times when he was taking a dig at the Democrats. He was deliberately trolling them, deliberately trying to get it going. I want to know what everybody else's favorite part of the State of the Union was. I had my favorite parts. I think we really do get tired of winning, man. Like, we are almost so sympathetic as Americans that we feel like if one side of the aisle, if the other side isn't happy, we almost get like a little ashamed to be happy. At least conservatives do. I don't know about liberals. I don't think they care whether we're happy or not. But as conservatives, we get so self-conscious about being happy about winning when, the Democrats aren't getting what they want too, so I feel bad. It's like, man, forget about them. I literally see it, dude. I have friends of many different wealth statuses, tax brackets. I have wealthier friends. I have, lower class, middle class friends. And it's like, it doesn't matter. If they're a conservative, they get like they feel bad. They feel guilty when our side is hammering and getting shit done. And Democrats are upset, and Democrats are raising a kerfuffle, and Democrats are making things seem uncomfortable. Like the Democrats, the liberals, they don't care if we're happy with what they're doing. They 100% believe, especially the crazy leftist Democrats, they 100% believe what they're doing is right. They 100% believe what they are doing is right. They think that they are right. They think their ideology is right. And the thing is, on the right, on the conservative side of the fence, all we really want is good fiscal policy. All we really want is law and order and security. We're not even pushing anything ideological or religious for the most part. That comes along with it. That's there. That's like a side effect. But on the Democrat side of things, that is like they are ideological. Like their whole purpose of pushing forward policy and legislation is ideological. It's not like practical. So for example, it's like Trump's tariffs. That's not an ideological move. That is a strictly practical move to raise money because the country was in desperate need of raising money to pay down the deficit, to equal out the trade imbalances, all that stuff. That wasn't ideological at all. But the Democrats they're so good at creating an atmosphere where they make people believe that it's ideological, and they're like, well, he must be stopped. It's like, well, Trump must be stopped from doing a practical thing that's well within his rights to do? That doesn't make any sense. But they make it seem as though that push, if he's successful with that, then it's just more ideological things are going to change. And it's like, well, listen, naturally, the ideas of the winning team are going to be more well thought of than the ideas of the team that's losing. That's natural. But the Democrats are 100% ideological. Because if your policies were based on making things better or practical, you wouldn't let in illegal immigrants out the wazoo. You wouldn't change policy or law on the municipal level, the local, state, city level to change bail reform and let people out of jail who are actually criminals because you think, well, they're brown, so they're less advantaged. So we must let them out on bail for $0. And even though their crime is extremely violent. That's ideological. That's an ideological policy stance, dude. The ideology is based upon the fact that you believe that our society is fundamentally unequal. The funny part about it is, of course it's unequal. There's nothing you can do about that. That's the way reality works. You could have two people born into two wealthy families, and one person is going to have more advantages here and another person is going to have less advantages over here. It doesn't matter. Money doesn't change anything. But the left has been made into a bunch of bitter losers so they believe that money is everything. You know that you have a friend who says, "Oh, money is the root of evil. Money's bad." They hate everybody rich, but yet all they obsess over all day is money. How much money somebody has. Oh, did you see that car that was in that music video? Did you see how much money that person had? Did you see what that person was doing? Did you see what they were wearing? Have you ever known somebody like that but then they think everybody who has money is bad? So if you go, hey, I talked to this person and it's a wealthier person. They go, oh man, yeah, that guy don't know nothing. That guy, blah, blah, blah. It's like everybody who has money is bad, but yet this person's whole world revolves around the glitz and the glamour, the shimmering, shiny, golden toys. And yet they hate money. That's how all leftists are. They've been made to concentrate on money so much, even though they don't know how to make it, even though they don't know how to, generate their own wealth or income, but they focus on it so much. That's why it's like tax the rich, tax the rich. It's like they're money obsessed, but then they project that onto Republicans and say Republicans are money obsessed. All Republicans care about is money. They don't care about people. No, fool. Republicans, and I'm just making a broad sweeping statement, but Republicans and people who are conservatives and right-leaning just have their priorities in order. They know that first you got to take care of your physical needs, meaning get money to take care of your physical needs. Then you can take care of other people. You can't even take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself. Most freaking Republicans just understand that. But then you have people on the left, they have no idea. They don't understand that concept, which is insane. Totally insane. They think, oh, we have to take care of people first, and then the society will become extremely prosperous. It's like, bro, you've got people out here who have real mental disorders, real problems, real struggles, real addictions, and you think that just by giving them stuff, all of a sudden that's going to go away. No, first you have to create a prosperous society, then people will heal. People heal when they're not. It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The base level, the bottom of the pyramid, is your physical needs and survival. That's why when you keep poor people in a state of survival all the time, they can't even get to the point where they can cognize or imagine different ways of healing themselves or changing things in their lives and in their environments. You have to get past the point where you're constantly in a state of survival, feast or famine, or kill or be killed. You have to get past that before you can get to a place where you can now imagine a utopian society. The left does not understand that. And mostly they don't understand it because the most ideological on the left come from middle class backgrounds. They come from backgrounds where they did not want for much. They might not have been ultra rich or anything, but these people, these kids who go to college, these white kids that go to college, black kids that go to college, the black kids are the worst, bro. They drive me absolutely insane. You got black kids who were raised in lower middle class to upper middle class families, go to college, and all of a sudden they're freaking experts on oppression, even though they've never experienced it at all. They're the ones who they're so desperate to prove how down they are because their parents may have come up in the struggle and their parents made sure that their children never felt comfortable being black in a middle class environment. Those people irk me the most because your job as a parent is to alleviate those traumas and stresses from your children. It's not to pass them down. Like, what? That's insane. You can tell people about terrible things that have happened in the past without re-traumatizing your progeny and your offspring. Like, that to me is insane. I cannot stand it. Like, speaking about the black, community in general, if you talk about black people in general, doesn't matter what class they're in, but you go to the black church, they're constantly re-traumatizing the congregation. They're constantly re-traumatizing black people about how slavery is just around the corner. And it's like, it's constantly there. And people still think of you the same way white people thought of you in 1875, 1888. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? We have black billionaires walking around being lauded and praised every day in the media, and you're sitting there trying to program and propagandize your congregation, whether it's a black church or your community, that they are just like in danger instead of teaching them skills and techniques to survive. If they're so in fucking danger, why don't you teach them how to not be in danger? But no, they'll never do that. It's a culture of victimhood. And I'm telling you, I feel so like I'm of two minds about this situation because I talk to a lot of white people, but I also know what it is to be black. I know what it is to be around black people in the black community. And black people are not, it's like white people do have their own thing, right? We'll talk about that some other time. But white people are convinced that black people are aware that they're victims. They're aware that they're giving into a victim mentality. But you don't understand. They're not aware of it, dude. They're just constantly re-traumatized. When you have a fear of something, or when you're like anxious about something, or you have an emotion about something, and someone keeps picking at the scab and will never let it heal, it's like you're gonna always be cautious about that wound. You're always going to be protective of it. And so that's what keeps happening. And because most people don't have true awareness of themselves, of their situation, of their society, of their emotions, of all that shit, they're easily programmed and propagandized to act in a way that's actually not good for them, that is dangerous for them, because it's almost like, hey, act this way to protect yourself from getting hurt again. That's why whenever you see these videos of these cops, when they roll up on a bunch of dumb black people and they start going, oh my God, they're shit, and they start struggling and freaking out, it's like they've only been taught, hey, you're under attack. They haven't been taught, no, that's not how you deal with a cop. The best way to survive an encounter with a police officer is to be extremely calm. Like way too calm, for like super duper calm. Like chill the fuck out, because you being hyper is only going to make them hyper anxious. And then you're asking for more of a violent situation to occur. But they don't tell black people that. They just get on CNN and they go, you could die. You're going to die. You know you're going to die, right? And that's what they do with Trump. You heard what Joe Biden said. He gonna put you back in chains. It's that kind of rhetoric. It's that kind of nonsense that they keep doing. And they do that with every group that they have. They do that with women. They say, women, you can't support Trump because guess what? They're going to put you back in the kitchen. They're going to make your life miserable. They just want you to be subservient to the man. This is a patriarchy. It's a male-dominated society. And what did most women do, especially younger ones? Because young women don't want to be told nothing by nobody. Man, woman, a lot, doesn't matter. Young women especially. And then you have the extreme of that, which is much older women who've lived enough of a life where they know most men are fucking idiots, and they're like, I definitely don't want to be told what to do by a man. And they all buy into that fear and propaganda as well. So it's like, you can't win when we live in a society where people are constantly pushed to action from a state of fear, and they're not even aware of it, man. So anyway, I went on a little rant, but the State of the Union was crazy because I like how Trump handled it. He was very calm. He was very chill. He was very confident. Trump loves Marco Rubio, by the way. Dude, whenever Trump does a little... when Trump goes... he points at you. You know he likes you, bro. Trump don't waste that. He don't waste that point on just anybody, bro. That means he likes you. He loves him some Marco Rubio, bro. That's his dude right there. But yeah, and then you got the freaking dumb congressman. I forgot what his name was. Al Green. Oh my God, dude, that guy. He's not the same congressman who said islands can sink or caps. He's not that one. But man, is he close. He's a real idiot. Black people aren't apes. Bro, come on, man. We know that. Everybody knows that. Anybody with any kind of sense knows that Donald Trump did not post that. He did not review. Somebody made a mistake. His social media person screen captured it, which I think is very strange, because if they got it off of X, if you have a paid X account, you can just download a video straight off of X with a push of a button. You don't need to like screen record anything, which is, that was weird. But anyway, it's just, that guy is an idiot, Al Green. He's just grandstanding so he can get his name in a news article tomorrow about how he's the fiercest opponent of Trump and how Trump is afraid of this old man with a cane. Give me a fucking break. And then Ilhan Omar. Oh my God, dude. Did she look terrified or what? She feels the walls closing in, bro, because her husband runs this fake winery where there is no location, there is no phone number, there is no nothing, and you can't explain that. It's like, at least with Nancy Pelosi, she can explain her wealth. There's like an actual vineyard. There's an actual winery that she has a stake in. It actually exists. So it's like, you said Trump gave the best speech. God bless President Trump. I say God bless President Trump as well. I think all the people out there that are grifting, I'm going to say this. If you don't know that people in both parties are corrupt, you don't know how politics works. There's people in both parties that are highly corrupt, people in both parties that are just interested in their own self-interest. But this new theme, this new pushed message since last year coming from the alt-right news media that Dan Bongino's trying to push back against, which Dan Bongino, he's not doing a great job doing that, but I understand what he's trying to do, and I essentially agree with the intention. You have these people who realized you don't make as much money and you don't stand out when you stand with President Trump. You have these people on the internet, they get up there and they have their little shows and they have their podcasts and they have their stuff. You're not going to stand out or make any money or make headlines agreeing with Trump. The only way they've realized this, trust me, please follow me. When Biden was in office, it was easy to criticize Democrats and Biden. Super easy, like, given. But when Trump started making a comeback all of these people were like, yeah, I hope Trump gets in, like the Nick Fuentes's and people who are saying that they're going to fight Trump and try to get other people elected and bullshit, a whole bunch of bullshit. There's nothing that they could have done to stop Trump anyway. But they have large enough followings where they can push this little narrative. And I don't even think most of them are aware of the dirt that they're doing, the harm that they're actually doing. And you can see a lot of them are pulling back because they know that this is, it's not actually very constructive. The only people who aren't pulling back, we know who they are, but we're not going to say their names. But most of them are pulling back because they just did it just for the money. And now that Trump is proving to be an actual winner, they're like, oh, wait a second, he's actually winning? You know, that whole black pilled thing that's been going throughout the alternative conservative internet media people, the influencers, was just so that they can grift. And so anytime you see something where people are like, I saw a comment on one of my posts that's, oh, don't you know it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican? It doesn't matter anymore. And I'm like, dude, it never mattered, number one, because you don't see how these people negotiate bills, legislation anyway. Like that's been the way it's been for years. But now it's actually more relevant what team you're on than it's ever been before. And this person left a comment and, you know, bless their heart. I'm sure that they didn't mean any malice or anything like that. But I just thought, I'm like, this comment is literally coming from the black pilled thinking narrative where it's like, there's no hope, there's no chance because they're all in cahoots together and nothing's ever going to get done. And I'm like, listen, Trump is forcing the Republicans in this term to move with what he wants. Trump has fully taken control as a powerful executive and a powerful president. We've had several very, very powerful presidents in the history of this country. We've had a few. And when they come in and they take over, their party gets in line because their party knows that it's going to be for their benefit. Not just financially, not just, you know, in terms of what they know that history is being made. And if they step on the other side of that president, they're putting their name in the history book for good or for ill. And so they have to be very intelligent about how they move with or against the president. Take Lindsey Graham, perfect example of somebody who, when Trump was in his first term and then when he was, you know, Biden was in office in those Biden years, Lindsey Graham played politics, played the fence, played that BS game of going to the liberal media and then going to the conservative media and playing both sides of the fence. He knows damn well in Trump's second term, Trump ain't tolerating that kind of dissension. And so he does not do it at all. He doesn't do it at all because he knows he needs Trump for Ukraine. He needs Trump for Israel. He needs Trump to be in line with him on a lot of key issues, and he needs, and vice versa, he needs to be in line with Trump. Trump ain't tolerating no bullshit. Now, so people don't think about the world in a strategic way. Most people think about the world the way that they live their lives in the world, through their emotions, through their experiences, through their ideas of how they would walk about doing things. But it's like most people don't have the responsibility of leading a nation. Most people don't have the responsibility of leading much of anything but their own families or their own lives. And so when people use that kind of thinking and relate that to how someone with a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, I'm not making excuses, but you cannot relate that same level of thinking to someone who has a lot of responsibility because you're not making the same types of decisions. And so therefore you can't say, well, I would do this and I would do that, and expect that to translate and actually make sense in the position of a president, a position of a governor, a senator, somebody else when you've never been in that position. Now, if you've been around it or close to it, or you understand what that entails, and then you say from a place of knowledge and understanding, I would have made a different choice, that's different. But most people don't do that. They just go, I don't like this. I don't want this. I would do this. And you cannot do that. You can't move like that. I was trying to tell my daughter, because she is really into royalty and, you know, European royalty and British royalty. And she doesn't like, she's very curious about all that stuff. She's like, why do they do this? Why do they do this? Why do they do that? Royalty is a highly ritualized thing And it's done that way because if things aren't kept in a certain way of order, there would be disorder and things would start to fall apart. And then you would have a situation where nobody would know who the leadership or who the rulers were. And so over time, in positions of authority, especially when kings and queens actually had authority, the decisions that they would make oftentimes would be cold-hearted, or they would be reptilian type decisions. But because they're making decisions not for themselves and necessarily their family members, they're making decisions on behalf of a nation. And the nation is comprised of many different types of people, many different types of intentions, many different types of, feelings, sentiments. And so when people go, President Trump should just come out and say this. And I'm like, bro, there are almost as many people on the Republican or Democrat side who aren't picking a side, who are in the middle. And if Trump just said what you want him to say, he would alienate all those people in the middle who aren't aware of what you're aware of, or don't root for your team, or don't do things the way that you would rather them be done. I know a lot of people who are on like the far, far right, and they want Trump to just do things that they want Trump to do. And I'm like, that's the far right's intention. But if Trump, as the president of the United States, did what they wanted him to do, you know how many people who are moderates or on the, moderate right or moderates or people in the middle or independents would be like, whoa, that is crazy. And they would be like, I'm totally voting for Democrats next time around. That's what would happen. And so people on the far right go, Trump's a coward because he won't do what we want him to do. And it's just like, you're not even in a position to understand why he's not doing that or why he is doing this. And that's what drives me crazy about the whole Israel thing. You're literally saying there's people who are in politics on the far right who are saying we should completely, and listen, I'm not really picking a side on Israel, so please don't say, oh, this guy, whatever. I am simply saying, just like any of our allies, if we've had a long-standing relationship with any of our allies for decades, and you're saying just throw that out the window because of a theory or like an idea, like people always want the most extreme version. There's people on the right who want absolute abortion bans. They want abortion to be completely banned. And I know people who have common sense, who are in the middle, who are moderates, or people who are moderate right-leaning, who outnumber the far right. So if you had a complete abortion ban, you would totally alienate like 75% of the voting base for Trump. That's why they don't do the things that they do. And so I don't understand why people who run for office don't understand that. You only win elections in the middle, because the majority of people who actually come out to vote aren't far right or far left unless you're in one of these very, very firmly red or firmly blue areas. Those areas do exist. But if you have a large territory to cover, or if you're in like a moderate area and you start saying things that are far left or far right, get ready to lose the election. I'm sorry. It's like that's not what being a politician is about. Being a politician is about being the representative of the area that you're running for office for. It's not about getting on your soapbox and telling everybody what you think and what you believe about how everything should be done. Hopefully, your beliefs, your opinions, your faith is an expression of the people you're hoping to represent. And so that hopefully it's aligned, but this is not a dictatorship. This isn't like, oh, we get to appoint you Duke or Queen or whatever. You have got to represent the feelings and the sentiments of the people in the area, which is why so many politicians are like wisps of air. They're not really tangible people. You can't grab onto them. They don't really stand for much. Or at least that's what they appear to be, most politicians. They don't appear to stand for anything. They look like they're weak, spineless people because they have to go wherever their constituency tells them to go. And I wish people would understand that. So when people say, hey, you should run for office or you should run for office, understand if you're not talking to somebody who is a chameleon, don't encourage that person to run for office unless they have a strong personality but know how to reach consensus. They have to have very good, like, negotiation skills where they know how to mediate. That's what a politician is about. A politician is not, oh, I like this guy because I'm on the far left or the far right. Like, just imagine, just look at freaking New York City, for crying out loud. Mondani did not win going around saying, we're going to pray to Allah every morning and we're going to look to Mecca and I'm going to make sure that Jewish people have their rights or have their protections stripped away so that their temples can be defamed, and I'm going to try to raise your taxes on your property. If he ran on what he's actually doing, nobody would have voted for him. But you know what he ran on? He ran on things that nobody could essentially oppose. Beautiful ideas that sound lovely on paper and nobody really they'd be like, well, even the skeptical people of Mondani were like, well, I guess a free bus would be all right if he could do it. I mean, but I don't think he can do it. But I mean, I'm down for free buses. People who live in New York were like, And then he just smiled a lot and said a lot of nice things and said, you know, I'm new and youthful and hopeful and all that other nonsense. And people were like, hey, I'd rather vote for him than Cuomo. He didn't run saying his ideology out loud. Now, all of a sudden, now that he's in office, he's going to mosques and he's meeting with, you know, criminals who stab police officers and siding with them. And I mean, obviously, anybody with common sense who's a conservative could see this guy coming from a mile away. He's a far leftist, Soros-backed, democratic socialist communist. We know. But I'm talking about most people don't pay attention to politics enough to have been aware. And they're like, let's give him a shot. And so that's what running for office is all about. It's running to the middle. You're running to the most middle that sounds better than the other guy. The most middleist thing with the most exciting new idea that the other guy didn't think about. That's what running for office is. It's not running on the far ends, on the far fringes. That doesn't win anybody any elections ever. Ever. I don't understand why people don't get that. Like, it's like really simple. It's like the pattern repeats. It's not like hard to see. So when people look at, well, Trump ran on this, the reason why people think that now in this new Trump era, you're supposed to run as a far right candidate is because they misunderstand the Trump strategy. The Trump strategy, he didn't actually run on anything far right at all. Everything Trump says is actually very moderate. The way he says it was extreme for politics at the time in 2015, 2016. People were like, whoa, this is absolutely crazy. And it's, for most people, they were like, it's very refreshing. He's very honest. He knew how far he could push it, but everything Trump is run on, everything Trump wants to say is very moderate. Like the State of the Union tonight. He's like, the responsibility of politicians is to protect the American people, not illegal aliens. Super common sense, super moderate. The left, the Democrats wouldn't stand and cheer and clap for that. That's all Trump has been showing everybody this whole time. But I see so many people who are running for office as Republicans who are so fucking confused by what Trump has done. They think that running on a far right platform in moderate or purple districts is like smart. It's like they're morons. It's like you have no political savvy whatsoever. Like, that's not how this works. Think about it. Trump won the entire United States. He didn't do that by running on radical platforms. Never once. What do you think about Trump bombing Iran supposedly today during his speech? I mean, who didn't see it coming? We know this is the largest buildup since Iraq. It's going to happen. And honestly, I'm of two minds about it. I think it's obviously a dangerous play, but it's mainly the danger for me comes in with afterwards. What are you going to do after? Let's say it's totally successful mission. You topple the Iranian regime. what are you going to do? What are we going to do afterwards? And I know he set up this board of peace. I just know that the main plan is to create a greater Israel. And obviously Israel's going to want a piece of Iran. You can't let him have the whole thing, you know. That's not good either. But who's going to take it over? The Middle East is very complex. They're not just all towel heads or whatever. There's different beliefs, ideologies, religions, you know, ethnicities. There's different types of people there, and they're not just going to like accept Saudi Arabia taking control or Jordanians taking control or Egyptians taking control. The Iranian people, for the most part, are pretty fairly intelligent. The ones that are still there, I mean, like the people who are super intelligent Iranians, Persians, they usually leave. But, you know, they're a fairly intelligent population for the region itself. They're like really pretty sturdy people. So it's like, what are you going to do? They're not going to accept the king. They're not going to accept the king back, the mullah. They're not the Shah. They're not going to accept the Shah back. They didn't like the Shah when he was there because he was making stupid moves because he was trying to play both sides with the British. It's like they don't want the king back. I don't think the Iranian people will accept having the king's son back. I don't think they're going to go for that. So my main question is, what are they going to do after Iran is toppled? Let's say it's all completely successful. And then you have the other question. What if it's not successful? Even a piece of it's not successful. Now you're dug in for a longer period of time. Honestly, I think it's been a war of attrition. I think people underestimate Iran's critical position in this global cabal conspiracy with Epstein. I think people greatly underestimate how much Iran has been used as a pass-through for tremendous evil. I do think people don't really understand that. As far as I know, all the mullahs and people, the leadership of Iran, they're all like on meth. That's what I've heard. They're like crazed meth heads, you know. And that's why Trump just keeps saying they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't. It's like you don't want the meth heads having nuclear weapons. I mean, and he's got Ivanka's husband helping him again. Last time he did the same thing and it didn't work out too well. It didn't work out too well. No, I thought it worked out pretty well. I think what happened is that Trump didn't win in 2020. So I don't think I thought his negotiations went pretty well last time. I think what happened is that Trump lost the election, and so the momentum stopped on everything that they were doing in the Middle East. I think that's what happened. Listen, I never supported Trump because I thought, oh my God, he's such a good man. He's such a sweetheart. He's just like, oh my God, the best person of all time. Like I'm not naive. And, you know, I hate to say it, but a lot of people who like Trump, this is what people in general do with politicians, celebrities, or whatever. It's like people have to somehow project onto that person their own goodness to like them. It's like, dude, I don't need to like you to know that you're the best person to do the job. Just do the job and I'm going to pay you or I'm going to get you elected or whatever. But for most people feel like they have to like the person or trust the person in order to, you know, want them to do the job. And I don't like, you don't have to like, dude, I've worked at so many jobs, and most of the jobs, whether you get hired or not, or even the time you have at the job, how pleasant the job is highly, highly dependent upon how well you gel with the rest of the team, the environment, the culture at the job. Now, for the most part, I don't have a whole lot of problems with that because I know how to go along and get along and do whatever. But I am observant, and I know most people don't really care about how well somebody does a job, especially like if we all work, right? So you go to work and you know that there's those coworkers who don't do shit. They suck at their job. They're stupid or they're late or there's something, but there's nepotism. Their cousin is the boss, the director, or their daddy's friend runs the company, Or they all go out, this group of ladies all go out for drinks afterwards. And it's like the incompetence is ignored because people like that person. It's just like with George W. Bush. The reason why they always talk about why he was elected over Al Gore is because people thought that they could go out and have a beer with George W. Bush. And unfortunately, that's a part of our society. For some reason, we have to project our goodness onto somebody else to feel comfortable with them. I don't have to do that. I need to know whether or not you're like a pedophile. Like, I need to know whether or not you're a Satan worshiper. And I don't think Donald Trump is either one of those things. It's like all the evidence points to the contrary, that he's not those things. But but I don't have to like you. I'm sure it's very difficult to be around Donald Trump sometimes if he like expects something from you. If he's like gives you a job to do, he's probably really difficult to be around. Like if he's just shooting the shit and he's just hanging out, I'm sure he's I'm sure he seems like a alpha male, fun type of dude to be around. But if he tells you to do something, you better fucking do it. Like otherwise, I'm sure he's going to be all over your ass, bro. If you don't do it right, I'm sure he's going to ridicule you all day long. Like he's like a Michael Jordan type dude. He's an alpha type of person. He's probably not very easy to be around if he gives you a task. Like Michael Jordan, you watch that documentary, The Last Dance, all his teammates were like, bro, he expected me to perform, so he was an asshole to me. But when we were hanging out and there was nothing going on and we were just playing cards, he was super fun. But when it was time to do something, he was an asshole. And that's what I think Donald Trump is probably the exact same way, which is why all the Democrats hate him, which is why all the rhino Republicans hate him, because politicians don't want to work. They want to get elected, they want to get their ass kissed, and they want to get taken out to dinners to do nothing. Just to raise their hand and vote. That's what they want. That's what most politicians want. That's what they sign up for. All the hard work is in running for office. They want to run for it. That's the hard part. Once they're in there, they want their ass kissed. They want to be treated like they're something special. Just look at Gavin Newsom. He's the ultimate example of that, dude. This guy wants his ass kissed all day long. He never wants to tell the truth. He always lies. He always expects everybody's an idiot and that they believe everything that he says. That's how most politicians are. They're Jason Bateman, dude. They're fucking psychos. They're sociopaths. They think people are stupid. And they think they can just lie to you until Trump came along, because Trump will call people on the carpet. Trump is one of those weird freak people who likes to work because he likes to win. When you understand somebody's psychology, everything makes more sense. And I think I'd recommend everybody understand and start to learn the psychology of Trump and a lot of these other politicians, because people a lot of times get confused. Like I said, the black-pilled right-wingers are all like, Thomas Massie, he's just standing up for himself. I'm like, dude, Donald Trump never attacks anybody unless he knows that they are like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I suspect that he calls her Marjorie Trader Greene. Now, I'm not saying Trump is always right. Trump definitely makes mistakes. But when it's like a consistent thing that you can see, I personally believe Marjorie Taylor Greene was blackmailed, because there was always a rumor about her that she is a swinger. She likes to get down. She swings both ways. So I'm positive the Democrats got wind of that, which is why Jasmine Crockett called her Butch Body, because I think MTG is a bisexual person. I think she is, and I think I think it's well understood that she kind of swings. She kind of does, I think the Democrats caught her on tape doing something, and they were like, we're going to expose you. Or something. Maybe it was like she was cheating on her husband before she got divorced from him or something, and the timeline would have worked out a certain way where she would have gotten in trouble. And I think she wanted Trump to help her out. And I think they were forcing her to push for those Epstein victims, because now it's come out that most of those Epstein victims that MTG and AOC were standing with weren't victims at all. They were madams. They were the ones who were pimping out the girls. But the statute of limitations is over and they've basically been pardoned or whatever. By some of them were pardoned by Biden. Like the Epstein files came out, and one of these ladies who was pimping out the girls was pardoned by Biden. But she was up there as a victim. all the adult women who were standing with MTG, and they were standing there saying, "We need the files released. I can't believe Trump is getting in the way of this." It's like, dude, MTG knows Trump's not in there, but she keeps going to every podcast that'll have her talking about how Trump opposed this, Trump opposed this, Trump opposed this. And the main talk of the town is Trump opposed it because there's so much of it leading to Melania, and he doesn't want his wife to be embarrassed, even though his wife was not pimped out by Epstein. His wife was not a sex worker for Epstein, but it's embarrassing the past that Melania had because Melania was a model. Melania was a model. Everybody remembers that? Yeah, she was a model. And now it's coming out that, God, what's that black model's name? I forgot what her name is, bro. The black woman, she's not Tyra Banks, but she's suspect too, but not Tyra Banks, the other black lady. That she was like the worst of the worst, who's always with Diddy. She was terrible. She would get the girls hooked on drugs and pimped out. Like the modeling industry, the fashion industry was like the epicenter of the trafficking of high level model girls, dude. And people don't want to talk about that because they want to, move away from that. But it's coming out in the Epstein files. The Bella Hadid, those girls, they sent Epstein messages, and because they're like, what can we do to become famous? That's what Trump was trying to do. He was trying to protect Melania. He was trying to protect Howard Lutnick because Howard Lutnick lied. I don't think Howard Lutnick, I don't think he's doing weird stuff, but I just think that he wasn't, he overlooked it because he was being greedy. He should just admit that he overlooked Epstein's the whole thing because he just is he's being greedy. He was thinking about money. And I think people will understand it if you say it like that instead of lying to everybody and saying, "Oh, I saw how weird he was and I said, we're never going to talk to him again. Me and my wife decided we're never going to talk to him again." And then it comes out that no. Actually, after that, you took your boat to his private island. But what I think people need to understand, think about it like this. You have a next door neighbor. You live on the same street. Your neighbor has a lake house. You have a boat and a lake house. You're driving on your boat on the lake, and that person in their lake house says, "Come to my lake house for lunch." Are you not going to go? Because when you go back home and then you see your neighbor living on the same street, they're going to hate your guts. So it could have just been done just to be polite or just for business reasons. It could literally be that. But people jump to conclusions and go, he said the ages of his kids. Maybe he said the ages of his kids so that he was like, "Listen, I know you're a convicted pedophile, so I'm telling you for the record the ages of my children, so if anything happens." I don't know what Howard Lutnick was on. I just know that Trump doesn't seem to like pedophiles. So the fact, I don't see how he would have somebody that close in his circle who's a literal pedophile. He's had them around, but they're not like right up next to him. Like, I've never seen Trump like hang out with a pedophile for like 24 hours in a row. I've never seen that. Like Bill Gates will be at some event because Bill Gates is an important rich person. So he's there, but he's not like, "Hey, Bill Gates, let's go hang out." It's like, I have never seen that. And so this is what I'm talking about with the rich do live in a different world. It doesn't mean that they're all evil, but I just don't think that they act in the same way that we do because every decision that they make is essentially a financial decision. Like literally, like Donald Trump's name is trademarked. So every decision he makes is literally a financial decision. Every decision you or I make is not a financial decision, bro. If I decide to take a walk and go down the street, it's not necessarily a financial decision. If Kanye West decides to go and take a walk down the street, it might be a financial decision because the paparazzi might catch him on camera. And if he looks like he's dressed a certain way or looks crazy, people might lose faith in his brand. So this is what I'm trying to say. It's like the rich think a different way, not just because they're like evil or something, even though a lot of rich people can be very evil. Poor people could be very evil, but they think a different way because their lives revolve around a different set of rules than ours do. I'm not making excuses. I'm just explaining it. I'm just explaining it, bro. So like, if Donald Trump went outside tomorrow and started smoking a cigarette and somebody took a picture of Donald Trump smoking a cigarette, you know how absolutely crazy that would be for Donald Trump's credibility? It would be huge. It would be a huge blow to his credibility because you know what Donald Trump is always saying? Oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, no cigarettes, no nothing. So if somebody caught him smoking a cigarette, it'd be like, dude, you basically a big part of your ideology is a lie. We can't. Okay, so I'm just saying, it's like let's just think about it in those terms. But yeah, man, I'm not with the black pillars, dude. I'm not with the black pillars because I've seen enough of this storyline to see that we're on the upswing. We're going in a positive direction. The black pillars are taking advantage of people who just woke up 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, 2020 or 2019, people who just woke up in the last 5 years. But if you've been awake for 20 years, you're like, bro, we're going in a positive direction. Everything that Trump's doing, this is positive right now. Net positive. But if you just woke up 5 years ago, you're like, oh, we were up here, now we're down here, now we're up here. You're looking at too small of a window of time. It's just like the charts on the stock market or checking the stock price or something. You see it going up and down. If you expand that motherfucker out 5 years, you're like, Bitcoin is fucking massively up on a 5-year time scale. But in a 5-month time scale, it's way down. But people only thinking on a 5-month scale. Come pull out a little bit and see where we're at in comparison to 2001, 2003. Think about it. We are so close to not just 9/11 exposure, Epstein exposure, but now UFO stuff is coming out. And it's not simply a distraction. It's not only a distraction. Let's just put it like that. It's not only a distraction. Oh, man. I really do wish that in the State of the Union speech, Trump had talked about Epstein, but I know why he didn't. Trump thinks, like I just said, he thinks in terms of like 100 years. So he knows in 100 years, he doesn't want his State of the Union being looked back on and seeing some shit about Epstein, some guy who was a nobody procurer of, basically sex slaves for blackmail. Like that's how Trump thinks about this stuff, dude. He's like, I'm not going to lessen what I'm doing, but if I was writing his speech, I would have tried to suggest, hey, maybe putting a paragraph or two in here about things are being exposed and are coming out that are rocking the nation and changing the way that we look at, our leadership and powerful figures in our society. But just know that we are still a nation of laws and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. That's basically what I would have put in the speech. And I would have just called it a day. I probably wouldn't have named Epstein by name or anything like that. But I would have said that because I think that's important. Because people are digging into these Epstein files and they don't realize, like I've been saying this whole time, Epstein is a poison pill. He was meant to be in higher society around rich people to incriminate all the rich people, dude. Like he wanted to get as many rich people engaged in what he was doing as possible because these are the decision makers for society. And if you can poison the minds of those people, you can start to poison society. So just because somebody was, around him or talked to him a couple times doesn't mean that they were eating children. That's all I want to say. Because I'm just seeing video after video of people, leftists. This is why I'm saying, we on the right have to be careful about what we lend our emotional energy to, because I'm seeing leftists being driven further into Trump derangement syndrome, because now they're just now learning that famous, powerful people, some of them, which I think it's like a minority of the people that are being discussed in these documents, it's like probably less than 10%, are into heavy Satan worship and cannibalism. And they're like, oh my God, because these people don't think, because people on the left don't know how to think. They're like, oh my God, Trump's mentioned in this. Trump eats babies. It's like, dude, do you know how to read, bro? This is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's important even though we're disgusted with what we see, we still have to abide by our own principles and say we are a nation of laws, innocent until proven guilty. And the fact of the matter is, since all this stuff has already been made public, it's very important that we don't sit there and go, oh, let the courts handle it. We make sure that a thorough investigation is done based upon what we've seen. So, for example, if somebody sent an email out and they're talking about jerky, let's do an investigation into what that means. Or they're talking about pizza in a certain context. Let's talk about what that means and let's search these motherfuckers' hard drives, okay? Let's look at their travel records over the last 10, 15 years. That type of stuff. But if somebody's in emails just saying, oh, yeah, like I went to a party and there was some drugs or whatever, and there was a movie premiere and that was it, and that's all don't even waste your time. Like, maybe question the person, but that's not somebody who needs high levels of scrutiny, because there's thousands of people in there, dude. I typed in Michael Jordan's name after the whole Michael Jordan touching the kid's butt debacle, which I personally do think it was probably ice, because like I said, man, the psychology of an alpha type person, they don't even like, anyway. I typed it into the Epstein, Michael Jordan. He's mentioned several hundred times. Why? Because sometimes Epstein is putting a Michael Jordan, inspirational Michael Jordan quote in his email. It's like, that doesn't mean, like, so when they go, Trump is mentioned 700,000 times or whatever they say. A lot of the documents, if you actually look, a lot of them are just them emailing each other news articles back and forth. News articles that they think are important. A lot of people are mentioning news articles. Like, so that's a lot of the search results by themselves. It's not emails of that actual person emailing back and forth saying crazy stuff. A lot of it is just circumstantial name dropping or mentioning, which, like I said, a lot of it is them sending each other news articles where somebody is mentioned. Like, that was most of the Michael Jordan stuff when I searched it, was news articles, like with Michael Jordan's name in the news article. That's it. So people need to stop jumping to conclusions. People need to calm down a little bit. But I'm like I said, that's the whole point of the psyop for Epstein, is to make people not calm. It's to make people hyper emotional. It's to make people erratic and fearful, because especially if they didn't know about this. I've known about this satanic pedophile cult since I was 10 years old, bro. Give me a break. Because my daddy made sure that I knew how the world actually runs. And you could imagine, I learned very quickly. I'm like, this is not going to make me very popular in school if I bring this up all the time. So I just learned how to not talk about it. And now people are getting on the internet going, if you're not talking about this 24/7, you don't care. It's like, bro, I've had this in my mind for the past 20 some odd years. You just now found out about it. It's a trend to you. So who cares about it more? The person who's been aware of it and studying it for several decades, or somebody who just found out about it several seconds ago? It's just all performative. People want to feel like they're the most outraged, because outrage is it's an emotion that releases endorphins and makes people feel good. But outrage is also highly addictive, like we've seen with the left. They're addicted to outrage. This is scientifically proven, bro. The left was told how to be outraged. They got addicted to outrage, so they don't know how to have any other kind of response other than outrage. And that's why they've become so deranged, because you can't have a conversation with them, because they believe outrage is a result in and of itself. They think outrage is how you get what you want, because we went through that whole Obama era where that was how they got what they wanted. But it's because the Obama administration wanted them to be outraged, because they wanted the reaction so that they could go, oh, everybody wants this. We should do it. That was the Obama administration. They wanted people outraged so that they could use that as an excuse to go do whatever people were outraged about. And so they programmed everybody, be outraged for wokeism. so that they could move their communist agenda forward. Now that's not going on, so that they're using like an outdated model. They're using like an outdated software update. Their software hasn't been updated, so they're still reacting the same way, but we're in a Trump era now, where outrage doesn't get you jack shit. Results get you something. Making stuff happen, building stuff makes stuff happen, not just being outraged. That doesn't do anything anymore. Nobody cares. Make money. It's America. Make some fucking money. I love that line. From The Departed. Guys are like, I don't have it. Well, this is America. Make some fucking money. Well, you don't know how to make money. It's true, though. It's America. Just make some money, bro. I love that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about the State of the Union. I'm probably going to get on live and do a State of the Union review tomorrow. I'm just freaking wiped. And it's midnight. So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Talk to y'all later.